Get ready for your unofficial dental hygiene podcast. These are the tales of two hygienists, one East Coast RDH and one West Coast hygienist. Listen as they tackle the profession of dental hygiene with humor and enthusiasm. Now, please join Michelle Strange and Andrew Johnston as they tell you a tale of two hygienists.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. But this is a special bonus episode. This is a recap of the trip that I took with my oldest son, Zachary, and my best friend, Daniel, moving across the United States. Many of you have already seen on my social media, I am now the Director of Hygiene for a company called Coast Dental, which has just over 100 offices in the Florida, Georgia area, and also one in Texas. And so moving my whole family, across the United States, there were some things that I just didn't feel comfortable shipping or flying with. And one of those things, of course, was the car, but also the dog and the gerbil. And I just wanted to have a really great trip with a friend and with my oldest boy and see the sights of the country. I've never been to some of these states, and I just thought it would be a really good idea. So what you're about to hear is just our recap of the trip, some of the states that we loved, some of the things that we saw, some of the things that we did. So in case you're ever in a situation where you have to go cross country, you can reference this episode. There is going to be zero dental anything in this episode. So if you come to our show looking for dental stuff, you can skip this one if you want, because we're not going to learn anything special about dentistry. But my buddy Daniel is there, and again, my oldest boy, Zach, and we just had a great time. So I hope you guys enjoy my little travel log, and we'll see you on our other episodes.
Okay, I have an idea. I think we should rank the states that we went through on this trip, because we went through a lot of them, right?
Right, but I think that this is either a brilliant idea or it's going to absolutely blow up in my face. Not so much your face, because my audience probably doesn't really care much about your opinion on things.
Yeah.
I mean, they do. I mean, you're great, but you're not going to hear the backlash. But your email address is Daniel Holbert at circuitsandstrings.com or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we also have Zach. He's going to be playing this game too. Okay. Are we going least to favorite or favorite to least, or how are we doing this?
Let's go. Well, I was gonna say worst to first, but
look, there's no losers in this game.
There's no losers. If we went through,
except for you, Arkansas. We're looking at you.
Oh yeah.
Just kidding. We're not. Well, maybe we are. We'll see.
Let's go through the states we went through. You guys went through Washington,
Oregon, Idaho before we got to you.
Then you picked me up in Utah. Then we went Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, back through Mississippi, Alabama, and then to Florida.
Florida. Yeah. So there you have it. I will say, so because you weren't a part of this part of the trip, I will say of the 3 states that you were not a part of, Washington almost doesn't count because it's 10 minutes in Washington State. That's what it is.
Okay, yeah.
Washington's a great state, amazing as a practicing hygienist. It's really awesome. And then we dropped down through Oregon. Oregon, I've always had a little bit of I don't really care so much for you Oregon situation, because I think when I was younger, I used to always get pulled over in Oregon and always get a ticket because I had Washington plates. So I have a bias against Oregon. And it's dry. It's boring. I mean, you're taking 84 all the way over. There's not much to see. You don't really stop off the side of the road and do something, like we did in the other states. So meh. And then I would say that Idaho was our favorite one because 1, we stopped at Grandma's house and saw family, and then 2, we went to Lava Hot Springs.
Oh yeah,
which I don't think we talked about anything on the podcast yet, but it was pretty awesome. Zach and I went.
It was really great.
And Zach and I went through, and we sat in the hot springs, and it was just good. So, and then we picked you up in Utah, which is like northern-ish Utah.
Yeah.
and that's where our journey begins.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoy your time in Idaho. That's where I grew up. And
I forgot to say, our favorite part of it was really Parma.
Oh, Parma.
Parma would just outshone everything else that we did on this trip.
Oh yeah, I could see that for sure.
Okay, so then let's do. I don't think we can do a least best. Let's just go in order and talk about like what we liked about each state or didn't like.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
Okay, so Zach, go ahead and tell us. You were saying that actually of all of the states, you think Utah was your favorite.
Yeah, Utah was just my top favorite. There were just all these amazing rock formations on the way, and arches was really cool.
That's true.
I just liked seeing all the really just interesting rock formations that you wouldn't see in Washington.
Now, do you feel like you enjoyed the drier climate so much there, or not as much, or did that matter at all?
It didn't really matter to me. I mean, I liked that it was warmer, but the drier side, didn't really care for it.
Yeah. Do you find beauty in the drier climates, or is it kind of look ugly? I mean, because we went to Arches National Park, and that's gorgeous. I mean, it's undeniably gorgeous. But what about the other parts? Is it like, oh, this is kind of ugly looking, or are you like, oh, this is kind of cool looking?
For me, it's kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
I just like seeing that.
Now, did we eat anything cool? We didn't in Utah, right?
Not in Utah, I don't think.
Well, I got a gas station breakfast sandwich. It was pretty good.
That was an interesting choice. We've had some interesting choices on gas station food. Okay, so next was Colorado. Colorado was one of my favorites and also one of my worst simultaneously.
I had a bit of a hard time with Colorado. The freeway got shut down because of a massive wildfire, unfortunately. So we had to go on this highway that was way out of the way. We went literally over like a mountain that was like almost 12,000 feet at the pass.
Yeah.
That was tough. That made for a long day and slow driving.
Yeah, because then all these big semis who weren't used to driving on these 2-lane highways ended up being in front of this pack. There was one time it was at least a mile long of cars like bumper to bumper because the truck in front of us was really slow. And so I didn't really like, and me driving, I didn't really like all of the drop-offs and the cliffs.
Yeah, that was kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I think as I got older, it's gotten worse. But I'm like, okay, well, please don't do anything that's beyond my control car, because I don't know, I wouldn't, it just makes me a little nervous. But at the end of that troublesome, weary day, we had one of the best meals of the trip at Hop Alley.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
True.
So, for those that didn't catch it on social media, we had Szechuan fried chicken. We had a chilled tofu soup with some, what was the sauce called again? Yeah.
Bang Bang.
Bang Bang sauce. And then we had some shrimp and garlic noodle and bone marrow fried rice, and of course regular rice as well. And it was delightful. Not much else to say about that one.
Yeah, it's a long stay. It took us a long time to get through, even after Denver. We're a lot of night driving through some flat lands.
Oh, that was surprising though too. Like the eastern half of it, I'm like, wow, this is really flat.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's. I mentioned in a different post about how I was a little bit disappointed in the flatness of the middle part of the country, because we didn't really see the flatness so much. But I guess Colorado would be one of the exceptions of like, you got some pretty flat areas there.
Yep.
Then we went through Kansas. I'm gonna say Kansas is one of my top states.
I would agree with that. We stopped at the Wizard of Oz place, the museum, which was pretty cool, and they had like a really cool park. Like we were just walking down a yellow brick road, and it ended at like this really big park with a water park on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the park itself was, I mean, so many acres big. It wasn't just like a little tiny community park. And in addition to like the playground area, which was, you know, a couple acres big. I mean, not the actual playground part, but like they could play around it. The playground part was really big. They had that water park, and then they had that pond that was beyond it. They had a nice big restroom area. They had some train tracks for a train that we never saw.
Yeah, like a small train that probably operates on some days.
Yeah, takes the kids all around. That was, I really liked it. But even before that, when we woke up and we saw the chalk pyramid.
Oh yeah, that was great.
One of my favorite sights, I think, of the whole trip.
Yeah, the chalk pyramids were probably about a half an hour off the freeway, one way, but it was just really cool. There was only us out there for the most part, and then another vehicle came to look at the other one. So we were out by ourselves, got to explore. It was really cool.
We stayed in, what was the city that we stayed in? Oakley. So if anyone is passing through, Oakley is not a town that you want to stay in. I'll just say that. But it was about a half hour south of Oakley, so you might be tempted to want to stay there. The motels and stuff were not, they are not safe. I don't think that it was a really bad experience. I mean, we slept fine for the few hours that we slept, but I would be surprised if that place isn't torn down, the place that we stayed at, in the next year or so.
You're saying it should be condemned at this point?
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't. Like, the walls, okay, so the tiles inside the restroom were like flapping in the wind. As the water came down from the water spout that was about belly button high, then it like shook the side of the wall. And then the wall next to the rest, like the actual toilet, was also like bowed way out, so you could push on it. It was just terrible.
Yeah, it was the opposite of good.
That's a good way of putting it. And then we had, again, one of the probably was definitely top 3, well, definitely top 4 meals we had on this trip at Joe's in Kansas City, which I guess technically it was still in Kansas, but barely, right?
Yeah, it was on the Kansas side of Kansas City. Well, that was excellent. It lived up to the hype. Would you agree?
I think so. Zach?
Yeah, I really like that place.
So we ordered there a sausage sandwich and the
Brisket sandwich.
Yeah, I think it's called the Z-Man.
The Z-Man, which is like the famous one that it's kind of well known for. And Joe's is at a gas station, which is also kind of an interesting thing. Although, when I've heard about it, I've always heard, oh, it's this thing that's inside of a gas station. But when you actually go in, it's basically Joe's, and then there's also a gas station. It's not the other way around where it's like it's a gas station and also a little restaurant. No, it's kind of the opposite now. I think it overtook the gas station part of it.
Yeah, now it's a restaurant that happens to have some working pumps and like a little place you can buy some convenience store type stuff as well.
Yeah. And so it was good. I thought it was one of the best experiences I've had with barbecue, for sure. The mac and cheese, Zach?
Oh, that was one of the best mac and cheeses I've ever had.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't even like mac and cheese, and I'm like, oh, I can appreciate this. So then that was Kansas.
Kansas, yeah.
One of my top states. Like, there was nothing about Kansas that I didn't appreciate. Even the long drive was just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Good, open, freeways. I think the only thing I didn't care for was all the dedication to Dwight D. And man, they love Dwight in that state.
Big fans of Eisenhower in that state. Yeah.
I think they even gave Truman a nod at one point too. I think that was in Kansas. Anyway, so moving on. Then we were in Missouri.
You know what? We had a pretty good conversation going there. So Missouri was over with pretty quick. I don't remember a whole lot about it. We were kind of just driving. we started in Kansas City, you drive across, and you end up in St. Louis.
I'm not going to sing it. But there was, Nelly. Anyways, so I think armadillo deaths started taking its toll in Missouri on the end, the second half.
That's right. Yes. That's when the carnage began.
And then we went to St. Louis, and then that was pretty much it.
And don't forget, so we got to go to the Arch. It was kind of in the evening time, so like we couldn't go inside of it or the visitor center. But that's a really remarkable structure. It's mind-bogglingly big. I mean, it was pretty impressive. At least I thought it was. What did you guys think? Were you impressed with the Arch?
I was very impressed with the Arch.
Yeah, I think it was really cool because, when you've seen it in the pictures, you're like, okay, that's a really cool like piece of art structure or whatever you want to call it. And then you get there and you're just looking up at this behemoth, and you're like, okay, I get it now. That's why this is so amazing. And it's right there next to the river. So it was like, it's very kind of majestic because of that particular part. A couple things that also happened while we were there. I texted a male hygienist friend of mine, and I said, and he's from the St. Louis area, or he's been there or something, I don't know. Every time I think of St. Louis, though, I remember him, or St. Louis, however you want to say it. I remember him, and he used to be a Cardinals fan, but I think he's a Cubs fan now. Anyways, doesn't matter. He said, be careful, don't get shot. So that was inspiring, and I'm glad we didn't die. And then also the second thing is the police officer that came in the night. So that was a patrolman, so to speak.
Yeah, we were walking back to the car in a parking lot. We weren't exactly sure if we were supposed to park there, but we did. And then as we were walking back to the car, a police officer came on another kind of path off to the side and started shining his light in the other direction. And we were like, well, maybe we should get out of here now.
Yeah, so we hightailed it out of St. Louis.
And then we went to the town of Arnold and had Waffle House. Waffles.
I can't believe you remember the town's name, but it was such a memorable moment going to Waffle House for him that he remembered it was in Arnold.
And Andrew let me order whatever I want, as long as he told me exactly what to order, which was
a waffle.
A waffle.
That's what you get.
A plain just a regular waffle.
Regular waffle.
And I begged him for some hash browns. We also got some hash browns, but nothing else. I was like, can I get some chicken or eggs? And no, nothing.
Here's the thing about Waffle House. When it's your first time, you need to go for the reason of the existence of this place, which is, what kind of house is it? A Waffle House.
Yes.
And so they have fancy waffles, but then that's gonna like detract from the taste. So yeah, so I was a little bit frustrated at their desire. Oh, and also I was trying to be cool about Waffle House and try not to talk about too much, but he dared compare it to Denny's.
Well, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was kind of like another Denny's or like an IHOP type place, and no, it was quite different.
So, anyway, it's also Zach's first time. So, okay, but tell me truly, as far as waffles go, yay or nay?
I thought they were really good. I was expecting kind of your typical kind of crunchy waffle with like the large peaks and valleys for
like
the
butter.
Belgian
type waffles.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, and it was a lot flatter and really soft, and quite frankly delightful.
What about the flavor of it? When it wasn't drowned in butter and syrup.
I think just a little bit of butter. I could have probably even done them without syrup.
Wow. Okay.
They had a nice sweetness to them. They didn't need syrup. Obviously, I still drenched it in syrup. But
obviously.
You probably could have got away with not having that.
Yeah, I'd agree. The waffles were just delicious. One of the best I've ever had.
Yeah. So, for those of you listening to this, let me explain when to go to the Waffle House, because we messed up a little bit. We did go, what was the time? Was it like 7, 8, something like that at night? And that's an okay time to go to Waffle House. But ideally, you really want to go to the Waffle House about like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. ideally.
Okay, so it needs to be a really late night activity.
Right. The second thing that I did wrong was I took them to a place in freaking Arnold. It's one of the first Waffle Houses that we had seen. I don't know how to explain this without maybe it being a little bit like maybe judgmental, but hopefully like reverse judgmental, like in the good way. The problem is it was a little bit too nice of an establishment, the one we went to. It wasn't in some trashy part of town that was really filthy dirty, with the clientele being the ones you don't really want to know their first names. Like that's really, and all the ones I've had like the best experiences, it was a really sketchy part of town and maybe a little bit of a dirty outside. The inside was clean. Waffle House, if you're sponsoring this, like, you guys do a good job on the inside. But it was, yeah. So I apologize for that mistake.
No, it was good. It was. I didn't realize that like the grill and all that stuff was just like right there. The grill was right up in your grill, you know.
Wow.
Just there.
That's good.
So
That's fun. You guys have missed all of his jokes and all of his puns. As soon as the recorder goes on, he's like the straight man all of a sudden. And I'm like, this isn't the guy I know.
With the recorder off, that's when I sparkle.
Yes. And your raps have been so on point during this trip.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I'm known for.
Okay. So we stopped in Arnold. Was that still in Missouri? Are we still in Missouri at this point?
We are, because we also stayed the night in Missouri.
Oh, in St. Genevieve.
Which we
talked about that.
You got into that.
What a mistake.
Still better than the motel in Oakley.
I mean, the walls weren't falling apart, like, we weren't going to fall on you, but the holes in the walls made it seem like the stability of the structure was still suspect. And the fact that the fire alarm, or the smoke detector, was undone and placed in the windowsill that we didn't know where it was until the next morning, that was an issue, I think.
Like, I mean, it only would have been an issue if, there was a fire and
things that would have killed us.
Yeah, and we died of smoke inhalation.
Chances are we would have gone peacefully in our sleep with carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah,
so
ideally.
It's fine. And the town was definitely misrepresented in all of the travel, everything's. But again, we've already talked about this. I won't bore you guys with this. Don't go to St. Genevieve. It is a just mistake. Although you did get another breakfast sandwich. Nope, wasn't a breakfast sandwich. It was a lunch sandwich for breakfast.
I did have a gas station heat lamp bacon cheeseburger for breakfast. And you know what? It was adequate. That's how I can say it.
Ringing endorsement for adequatism. The thing was, it was early still. Was it like 10? Was it 9?
It might have been like 9:40. Prime time for a bacon cheeseburger.
And we joked around that, like, they had gotten that bacon cheeseburger specifically for this guy. They're like, oh, Washington Plate's just pulled up. Let's put out the crappy food. They're going to buy it.
They'll buy anything.
And then, okay, so the St. Genevieve. Then we started driving some more, blah, blah, blah. And then we got to, so with that day, the intention was going to be, let's get into a little bit of Tennessee for a quick moment. Right? And was that the next one? Was Tennessee?
No, then after Missouri, we went to Missouri Part 2, aka Arkansas.
Daniel was a little bit disappointed that there wasn't a significant difference in the landscape between like southern Missouri and northern Arkansas.
Yeah, it was just like, this looks the same. I was expecting, I don't know, little rocks or something interesting.
Just little of the rocks. Which, look, I mean, I thought Arkansas was actually quite beautiful. I also was a little bit surprised. I maybe expected it to be a little bit more home on the rangey kind of feeling, and it didn't feel like that at all. There was more rolling hills and greenery in that part of Arkansas that we saw. That I was just really surprised, really impressed, and really appreciated it.
Now, we only got a little corner of Tennessee, but in that time we saw a spectacular Bass Pro Shop built inside of a pyramid. And I'm not really a hunter or a fisher or anything like that. Do you guys like that type of stuff?
Yes.
So you like that type of stuff. So they were probably in heaven.
But well, here's the thing. I would not consider myself a fisherman or a hunter. However, I have done both of those things, and I've enjoyed my time when I was doing it. If I was to go with some friends that were doing it, I would have a great time.
Yeah, and so I think the thing is even if you're not, if you're an enthusiast, then you're gonna love it. Even if you're not into that type of stuff, it's just a really impressive building, right by the mighty Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
We took the elevator to the top and looked all out over the city. It was real great.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
there were live fish in there. Like there were all these tanks and stuff, and then there were also like water underneath where you walked and stuff, and the fish would just
Yeah.
be fish.
They were being fish. They were doing a good job swimming around, breathing underwater, I would say. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're swimming, they're going around, they're looking impressive.
Loving life. Everyone's looking at them. And then, yeah, I mean, the elevator to the very top was really cool. The spectacular views up there. We spent a little bit of time looking at some of the knives and some of the guns and things like that. All that's kind of cool. The boats that were inside there.
Oh yeah, full-size boats
Full-size
for sale.
boats. Amazing. There was a restaurant at the very top. There was a hotel inside that thing. It was very impressive. We really liked that. Memphis is just a place I'd like to explore a little bit more. I feel like we didn't get a chance to really explore like the Lorraine Hotel area. That was, I thought, really kind of cool, but we didn't get to hear all the stories behind it. So that was a little bit disappointing. The line was too long, and it was so hot. We have the dog, and so we were being very cautious of the usage of our time while the dog was out in the car. So
yeah, but the Lorraine Hotel motel was pretty cool. I think they pretty much restored it to exactly the way it would have looked when MLK was assassinated there. So it was really interesting, and there's a whole museum behind it that maybe sometime we can check out.
Yeah, it's gonna be, if I get a chance to go to Memphis again, that'll be one of the first stops that I go to. I like that they really kept all of that up, where I feel like a lot of other times they're just like, okay, let's just let it go by the wayside. This is a monumental moment in history that needs to be remembered forever. So I really appreciate the efforts that they went through for that. Right next to it, so we were like, okay, we're gonna get some barbecue. We're gonna compare it Kansas City versus Memphis. And so right next to it was a place that Daniel had said, oh my gosh, like that. Why not go there? It looks fantastic.
Yeah, so we went there and we got kind of the sampler platter, which was pretty much what we did almost every restaurant we went to, kind of a sampler platter of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some delightful dry rubbed pork ribs.
I think one of the best decisions you made this whole entire trip was getting it half and half. Getting half of it dry, half of it wet, and letting us be able to taste the difference. Because we did have that conversation before of, okay, which ribs do you like more, dry or wet? And we're both like, I don't know, it depends.
Yeah, I was thinking I was a dry rub advocate, but really I didn't. It was just something I felt in my heart, and that's it.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm like, I've always enjoyed the wet rib a little bit more because it's more flavorful. I've had some dry ribs where you're like, I don't know, I felt a little bit like a hyena trying to like gnaw the meat off of the bone because it was so stuck to the bone. And I've never really enjoyed it. And it felt kind of like jerky. And so I've never really enjoyed a dry rub ever. But this place was it called? Central
Barbecue, I believe.
Central Barbecue. It was the best rib I've ever had. It was really, really great. The dry rib, so actually moist and so flavorful, fell right off the bone. You guys will see that if you go onto my social media. You'll see like the pictures of that. Well done. Way better than the wet side, actually.
Yeah, the wet side, it felt like the barbecue sauce was a bit of an apology, and really no apology needed. The dry was just great. nice and moist, delightful, fall off the bone.
Zach,
Yeah.
anything you want to say that?
Like, it was so fall off the bone that you could take the bone out.
Just by pulling on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, slight little tug and it'll just come right out.
Yeah, Daniel started like cutting it with a knife. We're like, well, guess we don't need that thing. I mean, it was really just that amazing. We also had a pulled pork sandwich there. Meh.
A little dry.
I'm not a pulled pork kind of guy. I think that's always a mistake. So if you guys want to send me a bunch of pulled pork, I'll try it all. That'd be okay. If you want to get a sponsor for a pulled pork, big pulled pork, that'd be great. But I just didn't really care for it. What I did care for, though, was we also had a sausage sandwich there. I'm a sausage guy. I like it. It's delicious. And it was, I think, probably the best smoked sausage I've ever had.
Yeah, and instead of at Joe's, so at Joe's we got the sausage sandwich, and they just had like little slices of sausage in this big bun.
Kind of like when you cut up the hot dog for your kids and put it in that mac and cheese.
Yeah.
For those of you that do that.
And they had kind of spicier sausage, and it was pretty good.
Really good.
But at this place, they had it like more hot dog style.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not spicy. It was just sausage, non-spicy sausage. But it was even better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was really good.
Really moist, good snap of the casing. A good solid smoke flavor all the way through. That kind of permeated all the way through it. We got some sides there, and they were all serviceable.
Yeah.
Nothing spectacular as far as the sides go. But I would say if you're gonna go there again, or if you're gonna go there, ribs definitely, dry, and definitely the sausage sandwich.
I looked over right after you took the bite of the sausage, and Andrew was like in a fugue state. I was like, "Are you okay?" I thought like maybe something had happened, but he was just like, "I'm like, are you okay? What's up?" He's like, "This is so, I don't know. Did you say good or something?"
I don't think
that?
I said you guys need to try this, and then we'll have a conversation about it. Because I didn't want to give it away about how joyous I was feeling, because then it might ruin the experience for you, because you're like, oh, actually, it's not that joyous after all. So that was Central Barbecue, I think.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Wonderful.
Then what else?
Let's think.
Mississippi, right?
I guess Mississippi, but I mean it was good, and like it had nice rest stops, fine gas stations, but it was kind of a thing where we did a lot of it at night, so we didn't get to like the full Mississippi experience until later the next day.
Like, we'll come back to Mississippi. That first part of it was very much just a pass through state.
Yeah, I'm guessing we got gas at a certain point or something,
for sure.
but yeah, we didn't really get to see a whole lot. We went the lengthwise of the place, and
yeah. Then we dropped down into Louisiana, and that's where we stayed for the night, right? We stayed in about an hour-ish north of New Orleans.
Yeah, a place called Hammond.
And that place, I'm trying to remember what that room looked like. It was so...
all I remember was I was okay laying on the bed. As opposed to other places where I wasn't sure if I should just sleep with my clothes totally on. This one I was like, I could probably take my shoes off and go to sleep.
Take the sanitizer and sanitize the whole time. Oh, that's right. Hammond was right now. Oh, so that particular inn that we stayed at, or motel or whatever it was right next to the Waffle House, right?
Yes.
Which was right next to a Love's or whatever.
Which was right next to.
Which was right next to. So it was very well set up. We didn't actually enjoy the Waffle House like I wanted to again, but whatevs. Because we were going to go to New Orleans, we were going to eat breakfast there. So, but I remember actually that was a pretty clean place. It had hardwood floors, remember, and like it was much better.
Much better.
Got some decent sleep. We slept in just a little bit more on that one, and then we woke up and kind of showered and went down into New Orleans.
And in Louisiana, instead of all this just flat farmers land and just flatness, it gave way to like more swampy land. It was kind of cool just seeing like all the ponds and lakes and stuff.
I mean, almost right away, you start getting onto some bridges. Well, I mean, right away after where we stayed.
Yeah.
You kind of get into some of these longer bridges, and you see the houses that are right on the river and the boats that are docked up right next to it. And you can kind of see some of these places, and this might be an overgeneralization, but some of them you can kind of really tell that there's no way of getting to these places without boats.
You have to have a boat. That's your parking. Your garage is your dock. That's
Yeah.
that's how you get there.
Yeah. And then, so New Orleans. New Orleans was, the thing is, I told Daniel ahead of this, like, you're going to get a very brief, like, this is, Jackson Square, basically. This is, a very small part of, like, the French Quarter, and which is a very small part of New Orleans as a whole. But you're going to need to come back and really enjoy this for a day or two. And also because, like, the food wise, like, you can't really feed yourself that much food in such a short little 2 or 3 hours that we had to do all this stuff. So,
Yeah, for sure.
So we had some beignets at Café du Monde, and then we walked around, got a few things here and there.
Yeah, just kind of look around, kind of got the vibe of it. I think because of COVID and all this stuff, just there wasn't as many people. Still a good amount of people, but it was also, what day was it? Like
it was
a
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, kind of early-ish, so it wasn't that crowded at all.
Yeah. So then we were gone by noon probably, and headed through to
Yeah, just got back again through Mississippi.
Biloxi.
And then we went to a little place called Biloxi, where the people ride their bikes on the wrong side of the road,
Oh
right
my
at you.
gosh. It was almost like a game of chicken going down this road. Now, granted, there was nobody in the opposite lane where they should have been riding.
Yeah.
But there was us in the lane that we were right, and they went right at us for a little bit and then got off the side, but it was very bizarre.
Yeah, it was odd. But we did find in that town a wonderful little restaurant on the water.
The goal was to have Gulf shrimp, right? That's what we wanted. Do you remember the name of the restaurant?
It was, I don't.
He's going to look it up while I talk about this. So the idea was we're going to have Gulf shrimp. Zach loves shrimp.
Yeah.
And we're going to try kind of whatever else that we didn't really get a chance, because we were going to have some food in Louisiana, some Cajun-y food, but we just really didn't get a chance to do any of that. So we decided, look, instead of that, we'll just make sure we hit our seafood and get our fill of seafood at this new place called, what is it?
Gallots.
Gallots. Gollotts. And if we're saying that wrong, so sorry. But it was really cool. It was down at the end, and it was more on the bay side as opposed to the ocean side.
Yes.
But that really made a really interesting picture, because there was also a bunch of docks right there, and some of the people that were enjoying, like, their boating and stuff for the day would just stop in for lunch, dock up real quick, and then go back to their boat and go on their way. I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah.
But we had lots of delicious food there.
Yeah, we had soft shell crab, catfish, oysters.
Yeah.
Obviously some different types of shrimp, Gulf shrimp. And in fact, it was kind of funny. They were encouraging us to sit inside, and we're like, no, we went outside.
Yeah.
And so we went outside, and we're like, we want that table, and it was like in the corner. We were actually halfway in the sun. We just sat there eating seafood, looking at the bay. It was just wonderful.
It was so peaceful, so awesome. We got the shrimp. We had it two ways. We had it fried, and then we had it boiled, which is the recommendation of our server. And then we also got another side order of some vegetables, and which were nondescript. They were just vegetables, maybe a little bit of Cajun spice in it.
Yeah.
And then they had some sausage, which of all the sausage we had, it was the farthest down on the list. It wasn't that memorable. Was there anything else that we had? The soft shell crab I love. I've always loved soft shell crab.
Yeah, it was delicious.
First time having it for you, Dong, right?
I think so, yeah. It was good. I mean, although I think my favorite was just the shrimp. It was just really good, really solid.
Oh yeah, the boiled shrimp was the best thing.
Right.
that we had at that restaurant.
Which is saying something because fried food is delicious.
Yeah, fried
Yeah.
food. It's hard to beat the fried.
And they still managed to be able to do that. So that was good. So Biloxi, we wanted to actually stop at the Maritime Museum there. We didn't get a chance to do that mostly because we forgot. But that was a good stop. I would stop there again, actually.
Yeah,
because
that's
I had
worth.
good.
Yeah.
That's definitely worth it.
And then we moved on to.
We just got that one little sliver of Alabama.
Oh man,
And
that one sliver it was though.
Was that where Buc-ee's was?
I think it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
you already talked extensively about
we
that.
already talked
right?
about Buc-ee's. We're not going to talk about it again. Go listen to social media again. We talked about it. I think it's on our IGTV. I think is where it ended up. But
driving through Mobile it looks like a really nice little city.
yeah, it looks really. I remember I was telling Daniel that I've driven that once before, many years ago, and I remember in Alabama there was this one part of the road that kind of dipped down, and then off to not the Gulf side but the land side, there were some really cool looking buildings that looked newer, modern, whatever, and there was in Mobile.
Yeah, the freeway goes right by it, and it seems, at least that part is really nice. It makes you want to go back there and see what else the city has to offer.
For sure. But then we got into Florida, and what a time it was in Florida. It was at night, basically the whole entire time, driving the length and width until Tampa.
The panhandle's long, the rest of it's long. Zach and I fell asleep, and Andrew just kept on driving.
I was bound and determined, one, to make sure that we got there that night, which maybe actually was kind of a bad idea. I ended up being kind of grumpy because of it. And we ended up staying in a La Quinta in Tampa. That was an interesting choice also. And yeah, so I don't know. There's very much nothing to discuss about the time in Florida, except for this morning.
Ooh, yes.
This morning, we ended up going down to the world famous beach in Clearwater. Totally get it now.
Yep.
Zach?
Yeah, I personally have never been to a white sand beach, and I've never been to a warm beach. I've basically just been to the Oregon coast, and that water's pretty cold.
Right.
And sometimes can be rocky, and it's just not nearly as good as the beach in Florida that we just went to.
I'm going to talk about this a lot more on like other podcasts, and so I don't know if this is I think it's going to go out as a bonus episode or something, but the move down to Florida was kind of a personal thing for me because while I love the Pacific Northwest for a lot of the opportunity that it gave me, the chance that I found my wife there, all of our family lives there, I am a warm weather kind of guy through and through. I've always taken my vacations to warm weather areas as much as possible. In so much I've even gone on personal vacations by myself to warm weather areas just to get that warm weather feeling. And so I was a little bit nervous. I know this is August, but I was a little bit nervous that maybe the Gulf water wouldn't live up to what I remember it being when I was in Destin and when I have done like Caribbean type stuff, which I know is not the same as the Gulf, but it's same-ish. And I have all these things built up, and the humidity, I love the humidity. And luckily I think we got about 180% humidity today, so that was like a great opportunity to like feel it again. And having my oldest son with me, being able to experience those things, and just really hoping that it was going to be everything that I remembered it to be and like wanted it to be, it made me really happy that he had such a good experience in these these sandy beaches that are just, well, how did you describe the sand?
Alright, so when we took our feet out into the water, you know how they're wet and the sand sticks to them? The white sand beaches, it looks like someone poured powdered sugar all over your feet.
Yeah, it's so fine. And again, we're coming from, rocky beaches that are just not as enjoyable. And so it was the best thing that could have happened. And so I'm really happy for the choice. I'm really grateful for Daniel for deciding to come with us on this journey, because this was a 4 or 5 day journey.
Yeah.
And he and I haven't really had a chance to hang out like this for a long time. We were going to go to the Philippines together, but COVID happened, and that was in March, and so it's been a while since we've seen each other. We haven't really had a chance to talk like this. I had a great time. He's a funny guy. He's dad joke funny though.
Hey now.
He is. Zach laughed so hard, I think, at all of his little raps and rhymes and all of his singing. That was him singing, and the jokes were funny. I really had a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be extra funny when we turn off this recording. That's when I really start to shine.
It'll turn back on. I'm sure it will. Well, actually, here's the kind of sad part. We're actually dropping Daniel off here in probably about 3 or 4 minutes. We've been on the side of the road for the last few minutes recording this, but this is where we're going to be parting ways, and so it's a little bit sad. Actually, a lot bit sad because now it's like just me and Zach all the way across the country. Allison hasn't even arrived yet with the other 2 kids, and so like it's kind of a bummer. We're real sad, but also we're real grateful that you came with us, man.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
It was fun. You told me you're moving to Florida. I'm like, hey, I got some time off. I'll go with you if you'll have me. So it was fun. A lot of driving, but good food, good times, good friends. So thanks for having me with you.
For sure. If you guys want to know more about Daniel, he does some really interesting things in the music world. Actually, when we were down here in Tampa, he hooked up with one of his friends and he does some video recordings and things like that. He's a really good YouTube channel, Circuits and Strings.
Yep.
And so check him out. If you really want to know a little more about him too, we played a game a long time ago with my other son. Oh, both my sons have been on.
Whoa.
You can't have your own episode. You have to share it with my sons, apparently.
Man.
Like way back in the day, we should have looked this up, but it's one of the early episodes with Daniel Holbert. So you can look that up and go listen to him. But definitely check out what he's doing. It's pretty cool. Very lucky to have him in my life. And any messages for the dental community, Dong? Oh, by the way, I keep calling him Dong. We learned this thing in the Philippines. It kind of means like boy, I guess, in Bisaya. Dong and Dai, right?
I always kind of associate with kind of like man or dude.
Yeah, that's what we used it as.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. We never even lived in this region where these words are used. We lived in a region where they use different words, but some of the other people we knew used it, and then we just use it a lot. So
yeah, which also was a great time. Also, like actually using Filipino in a way that didn't make me feel uncomfortable all this whole trip. So that was really fun too.
Yeah, for sure.
Any words for the dental community at all? Brush your teeth.
I don't know. Keep encouraging. Sometimes you get, patients like, I don't know, like me, who you ask them how their flossing's going, and you kind of, they get a little uncomfortable, but keep asking. It's important. So make sure that you keep doing what you're doing, encouraging good health, and yeah.
Cool, man. All right, everyone. Well, I will keep you updated on my adventures in Tampa, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.